Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. $2,517 silver. The debt clock taper. Let's explore. It had been a while since I've done a video on the silver and debt clock. I have a whole playlist chronicling the debt clock and the dollar to silver ratio that has gone back several years. I encourage you to check out that playlist and see how the price has changed. In other words, not really the price of silver per ounce. That's not what this is. I'll explain that. I feel the need to do that for each video so people understand, because many people don't watch the video long enough, even just a few minutes in, to be able to understand what this is about. The $2,517 per ounce is indeed the ratio. And if we take a look at this, I'm going to zoom in here. We'll take a peek at it. We can see here that it is the dollar to silver ratio now. And you can see what it was compared to 1913. 1913 being the year that the Federal Reserve Act was enacted. As you can see that there were $2.65 worth of notes or coins produced each year for every ounce of silver mined. And if you look at it in terms of, we'll zoom out just a little bit here, you can actually see what this means here. If you highlight over it and look on the U.S. Debt Clock website, it is the year-over-year increase in the U.S. M2 money supply divided by the yearly world production of silver in ounces. And so that gives you a gauge of understanding that, that silver is limited. There's only so much that can be pulled out of the ground. And you can see how much of it is pulled out of the ground each year compared to how much the Federal Reserve prints money. So the M2 money supply, which is and the money supply is measured in several different ways, from M0 up to M3 is the most common ones, but the M2 is the most recognized, and that gives you an idea. And the last time I did this video, it was trading about $2,900 and some odd dollars, close to $3,000 per year of the amount of money supply per year compared to the amount of silver mined per year around the whole world. So that gives you an idea. This is an important ratio, which is why these videos are important to understand the amount of money supply there is out there, which leads to inflation. Understanding that inflation is coming, the Federal Reserve, well, it's already here, and they had started this tapering process, and that is the result now of why we are seeing the dollar to silver ratio lessen now. It's interesting to see how this is occurring, but by and large, we very well could see it increase again down the road, but you never know. But even as such, those dollars are worth less now than they were the last time we did this video at $2,900 and some odd dollars printed of the M2 money supply increase divided by the yearly production of silver in ounces. So that's what that ratio means. It is not what the price of silver should be, would be, or could be, but it is a warning sign as to where we are in this country in terms of the amount of money printed compared to the amount of silver mined. Very important to understand, because on the same screen we have the national debt. It has crossed over to $30 trillion now, and it is growing by leaps and bounds, continuing to rise up. And we can see we are at a wartime debt to GDP ratio. That are these numbers here. We can see in 1960 was 53. That's the U.S. federal debt to GDP, gross domestic product. In 1980, it was lower to 35.54. In 2000, it was 58.53. And now it's 125.59%, which we've seen numbers like this not since World War II. It is frightening to see what's going on, and we're not at war status. Now, people think the pandemic, fighting the pandemic was akin to a war, and one certainly can make that argument, but nonetheless, I think many people believe the reaction to the federal government to that was pretty crazy. We can see here the amount of debt per citizen compared to the debt per taxpayer. A big chasm there between the two, which just goes to show you exactly what the social economic structure of this country is and how unfair the taxes are in this country. And we have the deficit spending is what causes debt, and we can see that not only in terms of our nation, but also the debt per citizen. We've got a lot of state debt as well, and debts that are occurring per citizen there. But nonetheless, all of this occurring, and how do you protect yourselves against all of this madness with increased deficits, debt spending, GDP, debt to GDP ratio? Well, it's by stacking silver and gold. And the silver is the most easily acquired metal of the two precious metals. And it's something that I encourage. Obviously, now in this day and age, we are seeing insane premiums. In fact, inflation is having a direct effect on the premiums, as well as other factors, including demand. Great demand, one of the biggest demands ever for silver out there. And so it should be encouraging to folks out there to see that silver is getting recognized, and we're seeing an increased amount of silver stackers out there, accumulators of the metal. And this video and this whole series of videos should serve as an encouragement to those of you who are stacking silver, with understanding that though silver is not incredibly rare, certainly not nearly as rare as gold is, and even more platinum, palladium, and rhodium, because rarity does not necessarily equate to value anyway. But nonetheless, it is a metal that is limited, and that should provide some semblance of encouragement for those of you who do stack the metal, because there's only so much of it that is out there. For the vast majority of human history, well, at least of civilized human history, silver has been utilized as a monetary metal. And that is something that I believe, though we are at a time and a point in our nation's history, it's only been since 1965 that we've stopped using silver in our money, in our currency. It's not that long ago in the grand scheme of the history of this country, by the way. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to understand and realize that just because our nation doesn't use it as currency does not mean that it doesn't maintain its value. And really, we've seen that through the course of a long stretch of years. And this video and this ratio should help you to understand that and bolster your confidence that you're doing the right thing and stacking and holding silver. And I believe that even with these premiums where they are now, you can rest assured that in time, those premiums will be swallowed up by the increase in the spot price of silver, and that's the basis from which we make our purchases. That's always the foundation of the price of physical and obviously paper markets as well, the derivative markets. The derivative market is crazy, and certainly there's a lot going on now with the derivative markets, but now we have other numbers here to look at. We can see that the paper to silver ratio has actually increased here. It's 317.41 to 1. And it's pretty crazy. We're going to have to kind of zoom out to kind of see exactly what that means here when we look at the definition of it. It is the number of paper silver ounces traded on the major world silver exchanges divided by the actual world production of silver in ounces. So there you go. The number of paper silver ounces traded, the major world silver exchanges, divided by the actual world production of silver in ounces. This is the derivatives. So these are numbers to watch too. I try to highlight them whenever I do these videos too, because I think, and that number I believe has increased pretty dramatically here. And we can see there 317.41 to 1 for the silver, which is way more than what the paper to gold ratio is. And that's pretty crazy too, at well over 100 now. And so it's growing. The derivative market is crazy, which is why I typically don't engage in ETFs and the like. And I know some people have done very well in that world. It's less risky because you don't have to worry about premiums there. But you know what's going to happen to that derivative market. It can only get so big. It's over $1 quadrillion now. overall for the overall derivatives. And the silver and gold markets are riddled with them. It's crazy. It's insane. And so we look at that there, and of course look at the dollar to gold ratio too. It's 18,492 per ounce there. And then we have to look at the dollar to crypto ratio, 9.99 to 1. That's kind of interesting. And we can see the dollar to crypto ratio in 2013. So that means the crypto market is growing, the overall crypto market. But nonetheless, that is a non-fungible asset. I mean, it's basically a speculative asset. There's really backed by nothing but the energy used to create it. And nonetheless, it's the dollars that mean the most. And that is what everything is priced in, obviously, in dollars here in the United States or your currencies around the world, when you see where things are going there. So this video serves as a continuation, an ongoing series that I've been doing, unique to this channel. So I hope you enjoyed it. And it's a reminder for those of us who do accumulate that, hey, we're doing the right thing. And it's backed up. And we may continue to see this number go down for the amount of dollars printed. But it just goes to show you that there's still easing. There's still quantitative easing. It may be a bit of tightening at this point, but that does not mean that they're not still being printed. Inflation is running hot, and this dollar could go down, and we could see inflation continue to rise. So there you go. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.